All right, call the meeting to order. It is 5 o'clock. Roll call, and clerk is not here, so I'll do it. Ms. Cattuso?
Here.
Mr. Lieb?
Here.
Ms. Moran?
Present.
Mr. Munoz is absent. Mr. Pereira is here. Ms. Smith?
Is here.
And Ms. Valadeo.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. We're ready to go. Pledge of Allegiance, please stand. Ready? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Adoption of the agenda, approval of the agenda, sorry. Dr. Marshall, anything
No changes.
else? No changes? All right. Motion, please.
I move we approve the agenda. Second.
Got a motion by member Cattuso, seconded by member Smith to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it is carried. On to public forum. Anybody here today that would like to address the board on our agenda item may do so. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And nothing to say?
No, sir.
All right.
Just a fly on the wall.
No, I wouldn't say that. All right, on to new business, our first interim budget report.
Good evening, everyone.
Hey, Janelle.
Tonight we are presenting the first interim for the 23-24 fiscal year. I'm going to look at this because I can't see that far. Okay. The formative budget process. We do several reportings each year. Our first report is our unaudited actuals. Then we do a first interim which covers July through October 31st. We'll do a second interim which is July through January 31st. And we will only be required to do a third interim if we do not meet one of the years as a positive certification. And then in June, you will get our budget presentation. Forgot the PowerPoint, I'm so sorry. Budget certification review. Multi-year projections are developed over a 3-year period. There are 3 types of certification that districts will get. They'll get a positive certification, which shows that they can meet their financial obligations for the current year and the next 2 subsequent years. They could also get a qualified certification, which means they could meet their current year, but they may not be able to meet year 2 or 3 in their financial obligations. And then there could be a negative certification where the district is unable to meet their obligations financially for the current year or either other 2 years. Luckily, Las Vegas Unified will be having a positive certification this year. Our district enrollment is currently at 11,029. Our average daily attendance is at 10,043. And this was based off revised P2. When you had budget development, you had 10,053. But when we close out the books and we submit annual ADA, we always have to do a revise to catch any changes, because if we don't, that could be a potential audit finding, and we don't want that. So we always see, sometimes you'll see an increase, sometimes you'll see a drop. In this case, we saw a drop about 9.93, I think it was. Our unduplicated.
But you know what's really crazy about that is we're looking at 900 kids that are absent every day.
Yeah. We haven't recovered from the COVID pandemic.
900 kids are absent every day?
What's humor?
That's not COVID.
That's, you know.
Yeah, because we were up in the 11,000s prior to COVID.
Yeah, but I mean, we have our enrollment is 11,000 and we have 10,000 who show up every day.
And see, a lot of people they see our enrollment is up. Yes, our enrollment is up by 28 kids, but we're paid on butts and seats.
Right. So but the problem
we may
is,
see an increase in enrollment, but we're funded off them being in class.
Right.
Where are those 900 kids?
That's another discussion, right?
Yes. But it's not here. I tell you, yesterday I was at the matinee presentation, 1 o'clock show of Lion King in San Francisco. There were more kids than adults.
They were all there.
They were all, I mean, there were a ton, great show. Ton of kids there. So, I mean, parents are pulling them out for anything, you know? Mm-hmm. They could have taken them to a Saturday or Sunday show, but no, they took them, or a night show, but they took them.
Field trip.
With their parents?
With their parents?
They were there with
they're young.
No, but I mean, yeah, I mean, we're talking parents walking out with two or three kids.
Yeah.
You know,
But I think
not
taking it back to the fact that it's an average, I mean, on the average daily.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I didn't mean to digress,
it's
but
okay.
I'm
That's
just
a
saying,
good
that's, I
observation
mean,
as well.
900 kids a day
That's a lot.
absent is a lot of money.
It's one, yes. Our UPP count is currently at 79.10, which is due to all the alternative income forms that we have collected. Okay, state budget updates. The COLA is at 8.22, cost of living increase. Top 28 for the art and music allocation was given to the districts in November, but keep in mind 80% of that has to be spent on hiring staff to teach arts and music. I know, Laura, you had a question about it, and I hope I was able to answer that
Yes.
for you about the
And then,
hiring.
And then thank you, Cypher, because you did say about it being to supplement, not supplant, which I had read that, but thank you for adding that.
Our minimum wage is currently January at 16, and it is expected to go up to 16.50 and again to 16.90. The Learning and Recovery Block Grant, we had a reduction which equaled about $2.1 million. The Special Ed Base Grant is increased to $887.40.
Which was it, what was it before, you know?
It goes up a little bit every year. Let me see.
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably not a lot, but
It's not. It's really low. I can get that to you, Lori.
So what's the question?
What was the base grant for special ed last year?
I just know the amount was a 20.
820. So a little bit of increase. We do continue this year with, the state did continue with the universal meal program so that everyone's able to have free lunch. We did receive one-time restricted funds, one of $71,475 for local schools, local food for schools grant. And we also received $1.9 billion in a student behavioral incentive support grant. Okay, the first interim combined, we had a beginning budget balance of July of 59.9 million. The incoming revenue that we had for first interim was 218.1 million, with expenditures of 241.3 million, leaving us an ending balance of 29.7 million.
Is that 22? You said 241. Is that 241 or 240?
240.
Okay.
Okay, our non-spendable, you'll see the 29,475, that's our revolving cash that we always keep in hand for emergency, if we have to write an emergency check for something. Our restricted funds ended at 15 million. Our payroll reserves ended up at 2.3 million. And our committed funds for the LCAP, the TK, and facility projects was 5 million. And our required 3% reserves was 7.3, the total ending balance of 29.7 million. Keep in mind that our current monthly payroll runs about 7.9 million per month.
So question, why aren't we keeping 7.9 million in reserve if that's what it costs per month?
That's required reserves, we have to keep
That's by
it.
state law, you have to have 3%.
State law, 3% of all expenditures.
Right, but I mean, state law 3%, but why wouldn't we want?
You're talking about payroll reserves.
Yeah,
He's talking about payroll
payroll
reserves.
reserves. The payroll is 7.9,
No,
right?
you're keeping 2.3.
Or keep 2.3. So why wouldn't we keep a whole month's worth of reserves just in case?
Because we don't have the money for it. Once we take the required 3% and the committed, that payroll reserves you see is all that's left.
So the 29 million at the end isn't what's left over?
No, that's a combination of all those
everything
together.
Okay.
Well, I think it's, and you know, I just want to point out that it says our ending balance is 29.7 million. And then the components of it are there.
Yes.
But look at the second and third line. Revenue is 218. Expenditures are 240.
Yeah.
So we're deficit spending. I mean, we're paying the bills because we have $59 million in carryover from last year or previous years. But we're this, you know, it's $22.1 million
I can explain that.
in deficit spending.
What you don't see here is that expenditures includes carryover that's budgeted. So all the carryover from last year, you'll see that we budgeted in expenditures. We budget in the 4s, 5s, and 6s. We don't leave it in fund balance.
So in other words, the 59 million is not carryover.
That's our fund
It's
balance.
budgeted.
Correct,
It's
and
been
some of
budgeted the
that's,
year before.
Some of that has been budgeted.
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
So that's why the expenditures look more, because we budget those so that
Right.
schools can reuse them. It's when we close the books, you don't really know what that's gonna be until you close the books. So when we close the books, we figure out what the fund balance is, and then we rebudget that the following year, because keep in mind, that's not in budget development. Budget development is just based on what revenue we're coming in and what our assumptions for expenditures, our revenues, the carryover's not in there yet. Because we don't know at that time until we close the books what their carryover is gonna be.
So it's too bad there's not an asterisk next to the 59 million with the true number, so that we don't look like we're deficit spending.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I can look into getting that set up.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I mean, what part of that 59.9 is encumbered, basically?
Right.
Correct. I'd have to back out the carryover, how much our
Yeah.
carryover, I think our carryover was a little over 2 million.
Because I think, one of the things that I have been hit by many times, and I know Dr. Marshall's the same way, is we have one of our LBTA members who keep harping on the fact that we have a huge carryover every year.
Right.
And they look at, hey, they have $59 million in carryover. So obviously they could have paid us more last year.
But that carryover, the majority of that is restricted funds.
No, but what I'm saying.
But they're not seeing that.
They're
They're
not
not
seeing
seeing
that.
that, I know.
They're
But so if we
seeing-
can show that on here,
Yeah,
Yeah,
they won't have any argument.
they see $59 million in carryover. They think, we didn't spend $59 million last year.
That's what they're thinking.
okay, I can look at
So-
breaking that down more
Yeah,
in
because,
the future ones, because feedback is great, because I'm learning as I go along, so if you see something that you want to tweak, please talk to me about it.
yeah, but I mean, when they see that, it's like,
Yeah.
hey, they could have given us more last year. There's $60 million there they never spent. So I think it's important to know that what part of that is already spent.
Okay, that's actually great, we'll work on that.
How much is liquid?
So our general fund unrestricted expenditures ended up certificated 54.9 million. Our classified salaries ended up 16.7, benefits 36.7, books and supplies 9.7, services 18.1 million, capital outlay 1.8, and outgoing interfund transfers of 4 million for a total of 142.3 million in unrestricted expenditures. Salary and benefits equated to 108.5 million, with 76.25% of our restricted budget going to salary and benefits.
Is that pretty average for districts?
Yeah,
Yes.
For districts around like 80-ish, 81, something like that, that's the most of, so this is actually a little lower.
At CSBA, they told us, they said the average was 83.
Yep.
Wow,
Yeah.
So the
okay.
average was 83 in the state.
Yeah,
So we're doing good.
Doing
We're
okay.
doing good. This is actually a new slide that I put in because I thought it would be very helpful. This comes directly off the LCFF entitlement calculator that we use, just so you can kind of see how the base grant, the grade span adjustment, and the supplemental concentration play a part in this. This is how we base our revenue off. The general fund is off that 153 million that you see there. So it was just a snapshot of the workbook that we use that I thought would be a nice little thing for you guys to see.
What is a grade span adjustment?
That's the LCAP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Okay, the loss balance unified funding comparison. I wanted to put this in here so you guys could see the difference between budget development and the first interim reporting. You'll notice that we lost about 1.5 million. This is based off the decrease in ADA and the change in our property tax that we're collecting. That played a role in it. So I just kind of wanted you to see where we lost those funds based on the ADA decrease and the property tax changes. When we did budget development, it was based on what we knew at that time, which was 15.1 million in property tax, and ended up coming in at 18.1.
Okay, question. I understand the ADA part of it. I don't understand the property taxes. So
The
how
more
did it change?
property tax we collect, the less we get in funding. So our property tax went up. When we did budget development, we based it off the 15 million that we know at that time.
Right.
But when we close the books, the county will send us the actual amount collected,
Right.
and then that's the amount that we use moving forward.
So we got more than we anticipated?
We did.
Okay.
Multi-year projection assumptions. We are projecting a flat enrollment in ADA. Multi-year projection also includes the cost of living increase based on what school services has provided us. We are hoping that our unduplicated count stays at the 79% UPP. The multi-year projection does include step and column increases, salary and PERS increase, as well as health and welfare. The multi-year projection also includes our COP payment on our long-term liabilities.
Can we just go back for a second?
Yeah, sure.
When you had mentioned, that our property tax went up, our allocation from the state is less. And so,
Yes.
one of the things that people don't understand is when they say Palo Alto is a basic aid district, which means their property tax is so high, they get the absolute minimum from the state. Even though it sounds like a basic aid district means they're in poverty. No, it means they're flush
They're
with a
rich.
ton of money. So
They're not
that, so
needy.
this is an
They're
example,
not
as long as when our property tax increases,
Yeah.
our amount from the state's gonna go down.
Right.
And that's like I said, if Palo Alto has a huge property tax, so they don't get anything from the state.
Right.
So,
Because if we just left it all alone, then every community would have to fend for themselves. So the ones that have high property taxes would have a lot of money in their district.
exactly,
And the
because
ones
if
that
they
don't,
would get,
with no growth,
Right.
would have nothing.
right. So when you hear basic aid district, don't feel bad about them.
No, they're very wealthy districts that are
They're doing
basic.
very well.
Okay, so next is the multi-year projections on restricted funds. This was done based off of what school services gave us as the current COLA that they have projected. You will see that we meet our reserves cap. You're not allowed to have more than 10% in your district reserves, and we meet that for all years. But keep in mind that these numbers could drastically change once we go to the governor's budget on January 17th. They are projecting a downward COLA of less than 2%. I did not do multi-year projections with that because at that time we don't know that for certain. So I want to go based on what I know for certain now that we've been given.
And for Dana and Gene, who weren't at the conference, they told us that 3.94 is now 1.27.
Yeah.
Oh.
They're saying it's not even going to cover the PERS increase.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to do multi-year off that because we don't know that for sure, and I'd have to go based on what I know at the
You don't want
time.
it to look dire? What?
So the 3.94 is based on what factor?
The state budget,
Previous
what Newsom
budget.
decides to
Previous-
give,
previous-
yeah.
previous-
It's based on last year's, and the
Okay.
governor's review, what they determined.
Okay.
Before the LAO came out with their numbers.
Yeah.
Which is very dismal
Yes.
Yeah.
and scary.
Does that mean we're gonna have to cut a bunch of stuff?
Could be.
They just released the
Could be.
news today from the legislative analyst said like we're 68 billion in deficit.
Yeah, I just
So,
told Mark, I just,
yeah.
we just
And
got
some of
that
that
email.
money contribute to the Prop 98 we're receiving, so the outlook looks very grim for that.
Right, they talked about it today in terms of like there is like where Governor Brown set up this rainy day fund. And I think that they didn't use it in prior years. But we have to kind of see what Newsom's gonna do in terms of, what's his approach to dealing with this deficit. I mean, we know in the previous years what he's done is that when he's like these grants, he's big on like, the TK grants, different grants that he has, he'll take from those to kind of minimize the impact. He'll take, like, he has a learning loss grant, block grant they gave, all these different grants they gave, he'll kind of pull from those. And I think that will give you a better idea as far as when we start talking about cutting stuff, what, because he's gonna pull from that too, but you have to see his real picture. What's his plan? So we're gonna find when we go in January, you'll kind of get some insight into his thought processes, because he'll be presenting his budget, kind of what he plans to do to show up this hole. I mean, this is big, in terms of that big of a deficit. They were waiting on, I guess, the delayed property taxes, and it didn't materialize like they thought. So.
It's gonna be ugly. I mean, like Mel just said, the PERS increase is going to what, 28 or 29% next year?
Why?
That's the PERS
And I mean,
increase. Yep, next year PERS will be 27.7.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so,
28%.
They're saying that the COLA won't even cover.
Right, STRS is still at 19.1, I think it is.
Yes, and that stays flat for the next several years.
STRS stays the same, but PERS is going up, has gone up at the last 3 years. So, I mean,
And when we budget,
if we only
like,
get 1% and
yeah,
all of
We
it
have to
goes
take
to
it from
cover,
somewhere.
Gotta
and
take
that
it.
doesn't cover, step and column increases
nope.
and any health and welfare increases.
Didn't Nelson mention possible deferments?
There's possible deferments.
Sure.
yeah. We're not hearing that yet unless you've heard anything, Cypher. We haven't heard yet. I
I've
think
not heard
everyone's
anything.
waiting for the governor's
I know,
budget.
because, of course, it's gonna go out to around 30% in 25, 26. I just don't know how we're gonna fund those, because it's so expensive.
Exactly.
And, right, I have not heard, and that's bad news for deferment. That means we had to go out and borrow money, because we cannot afford it.
Because we don't have those payroll reserves.
We don't have those
And I
payroll
think we're gonna hear more from the county once the governor's budget, and they're gonna give us guidance on how to go from there. On our 4s and 5s, the consumer price index increase is in there, but still, it's not a lot, but that is in the multi-year projections as well for the supplies.
Do you think that part of the problem was the fact that the state allowed people to pay their taxes in October instead of May?
They're saying that that was a big part of why it didn't materialize
That's a
like they
big
thought
part.
it was going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even that 7 million expense for COVID.
Because they couldn't do the
Their
the
calendar.
projections on this.
Yeah, I
They
think
couldn't do
that,
the budget projections in May because they
Yes.
didn't have that April 15th
Right.
number
I
to
think some
use.
of the
So they
verbiage-
just guessed and then all of a sudden October showed up and it's like,
And they took money out of the learning recovery block grant and the other, we lost some of that money to cover the COLA, the 8.22 that was promised. They reduced it, so there is potential that it could reduce
And
further.
then the other one, the
Our
expanded learning,
music
ELO,
instructional materials
like
block
the one
grant.
that they did by after school program. He had a lot of money invested in that, so I'm sure they're gonna kind of hit some of those one-time monies, those little pots that they have.
So we may get our percentage, but it's gonna hurt the other.
yes.
right.
Right,
Yes.
that's, that's what he has to, to do.
Correct.
But I just think but I don't know if you'll be able to keep doing that in terms of that voodoo math, you only can do it for so long.
Yeah.
You can't do that every year.
Okay, so what are our opportunities? To provide students with an engaging and enriched educational experience, to maintain our fiscal solvency, and to use specific financial resources given to us by the state to maintain services for our students. Okay, final synopsis. Okay. The first interim report is for the period of July through October. We are currently able to meet all our financial obligations with the support of one-time federal funds, state aid, and the increase in our COLA. Enrollment continues to be volatile as well as ADA. Pension contributions and healthcare costs continue to increase as well as special ed and transportation costs. The district is working as much as we can to get the alternative income farms in, but as you know, with the universal mills, a lot of people just don't want to do it. So we're fighting to get them as much as we can. LEA should be aware that the state is facing a potential revenue shortfall and a budget deficit, and there could result in further cuts. The COLA is showing a downward trend towards 2% according to school services. With the Learning and Recovery Block Grant, the first cut, we took 14.3%. He could cut that more to make it up. And for the Art and Music Block Grant, we took a 6% cut on that, which again could be cut more. We just don't know at this time until we go on the 17th. I think we're all concerned to see what happens.
Because that gives us, that way you'll have a good idea of what you're working with when you get us some insight into what his thought process is.
And one,
Go ahead, then I have something on that.
I was just gonna say that when she bullets the special education and transportation costs continue to increase, those are categorical. They're restricted funds. But the problem is that we don't get enough to cover those costs from the state. So then we have encroachment into the unrestricted part.
Right
So
now,
whenever
the
those
special
things,
ed
when
encroachment's 10 million.
those numbers go up, it's just more encroachment into the general fund.
That transportation.
So when you're talking about trying to collect more alternative income forms, I mean, what percentage are you looking at that could be increased? Because you're
Well,
at 79 now, so what?
we would like to stay in the solid 80s if we could get there.
Have we been in the 80s in prior years? Just curious.
As our enrollment,
Yeah.
we're about,
Have you?
Yeah.
we stay about that,
Because
yeah.
the issue we have, I think we, you may be able to get a little bit more, but you have to look, I think one thing that we have to look at in the community, look at the homes that are being built in our community. I mean, the people that are moving here, they're not poor, I mean, as you guys know over by Virginia where you live.
Right.
They, I mean, basically, they may not be able to afford a home in San Jose,
They can afford it here.
but they can afford those houses, a lot of them do well in those houses that
It's
we.
500, 600,000.
Yeah, so, but they're nice homes.
Been with for years.
Right,
So-
that's why I was
Yeah,
saying,
you're right. So
that's why
so
I'm
you're right.
asking,
You're
because
absolutely-
if
so you're right.
we're taking action, but what,
Right.
really,
You're
how
to-
much more are we gonna
You're
get?
right on point. I think you're at the ceiling.
Yeah,
You're starting to
that's
see-
what
you're
I,
start-
yeah,
right, You're
that's.
starting to get there now because.
So you think 80 is the?
Yeah, something
I
around there.
can't see
Yeah,
much.
I don't see it.
No,
Yeah, I don't
it's
see
not-
it
it's
higher
not,
than
you know,
either.
Because I think it's right now, it's a bedroom community. A lot of our folk parents have, good, good jobs and stuff. They go over the hill and stuff and.
Yes.
So I guess my point was not,
Yeah, you're right.
not to bank on getting,
Yeah,
Right,
no,
right,
yeah.
right.
because
And we did notice
think
that
we're
when we
already-
were collecting
the
this
highest
year,
I've seen
a
is like
lot of
82.
people that
Yeah.
were free and reduced last year didn't qualify this year, so
Mhm.
their
That's what I'm
financial situation improved, so that was good for them. I mean, you wanna see that for anybody. But we did notice a lot of people that didn't qualify this year that were free and reduced last
Just,
year.
you just look at.
So who verifies if the information they put on those forms are correct?
It's just scanned into our Rocket Scan software. They don't have to provide any documentation, they just have to complete the form.
And then the form somehow connects to something, because I know, and
Yes,
that was years ago, a lot of people were free and reduced lunch, and I know that those families can afford to be.
I don't know if they still do this, because back in the day, sometimes what they would do, this was years ago, they used to verify, they would randomly pick someone, you kind of would get randomly picked to be verified. I don't know if that's still, they would, a lot of people would get mad. If you were that one that had to verify, people would get, picked about that. You have to kind of show proof of whatever, you was randomly selected or whatever, but I don't know if they still do that.
no, they
I don't
don't,
think
and
so.
it's honesty on the honesty system.
Right.
We can't really ask parents to see pay stubs. We put it in our Aries system and then that gets uploaded into CalPADS.
They used to do that back then.
A lot of them are direct search, which means the child's either on Medi-Cal or some kind of public assistance that's automatically generated. We have a lot of direct certs in our district.
But the big thing is that if you look on this page, which is like the second or third page in, it says universal access to free meals per day for
Yeah,
any
for
student
everybody,
who
right?
requests a meal. So if you're getting a free meal, no matter if you fill out the form or not,
Exactly.
they're gonna say, I'm not gonna fill out that form,
And
I get a
that's-
free
I
meal.
do it, right.
There's no incentive
Yeah,
involved.
That's true.
exactly. Before, they had to fill out the form or they wouldn't get
Right.
free or reduced. Now, everybody gets it. whether
So why,
you know,
I don't
But
want
didn't
to.
California make that a couple years ago?
It is
Yeah.
universal access,
Yes,
yeah.
once COVID hit.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, I'm not sure if it was last year or the year before, we were so down on these forms, we lost $6 million.
It was last year.
It was last year,
And
and
then
it was
we-
because it was all electronic.
We were
Yeah.
able
and
to
that
just
was
keep
And
going
then
and
we got-
all of us working as a team to get those,
Yeah.
And then
those
by the
forms
second,
back.
by the second time.
Right, because,
Yeah, we
but
were
that
able
was
to
Right.
get it corrected by
I remember that.
second, and
Yeah.
thank God, because it makes a big
loss,
difference,
right?
yeah.
So no child pays for a meal in our district, it's all free.
If staff eat, then they do, but no.
Breakfast and lunch.
Breakfast and lunch,
It's free. Breakfast, and if they go to leave, they get a free snack.
they do.
Yeah.
So no more of those days when we had the little lunch ticket that we had to get concept,
Yeah.
and you go to the office and give them your money and give them
Yes.
lunch ticket, no more of that, right?
Yep.
Or you had the big bill at the end and going,
Yeah.
how many times did you eat?
Oh,
I
yeah.
sent you a lunch and then you ate that too?
Or you had to go to the cafeteria. I get free lunch. That was.
Well, you know, a lot of kids
There
are
was always a
embarrassed that they
stigma.
have
I
to
was
show
afraid
a card or
that.
something
Me too.
for
That's
free
why-
lunch, so it makes it easier for the
Me too.
students.
Always a
Because
stigma.
they're
Oh, you get
embarrassed,
free
their
lunch.
friends
Yeah.
are there, so it's actually
Our
good.
society
it
is
is.
doing that across the board,
Yeah.
even with adults, it doesn't work that way anymore.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
so it's good for our students.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I have another question off topic of that. I understand pension contributions and health benefits continue to increase.
Mhm.
So tell me how pension contributions increase. Because you're retired, you get a pension, right?
It's the stirs and purrs, that's what that
It's
is.
what we pay,
What we
PERS
pay.
and PERS, it's based on our
Right.
salaries.
Mhm.
So like,
But does it change?
Well, the state has increased those numbers. Like, for all of our certificated employees, we pay 19.1% of their salary to the state to cover pensions.
Okay.
For our PERS employees, which are all the non-certificated ones,
26.68%.
it's 26, and it's going up to 28 or 27.
27.70.
So
And who
that's
sets that increase?
State.
Based on what?
PERS does not have enough money. PERS and STRS both do not have enough money to cover their projected costs for the projected
Cause we're all
years.
living too long.
And then there's
You
COLA
know what,
involved.
that is
No, it
actually
is.
true.
It is.
Yeah, they don't have enough funds to cover their retirees, so they're raising the rates to make.
So like, say you're retired and you're getting your pension, you are entitled to cost of living. You know what I mean?
Every
So you're
year
gonna
they
get more, but
increase.
where does that more come from?
Well, actually, you don't. You get cost of living, but it's guaranteed. It is a statutory 2%
There you go.
non-compounded. So when the first year you retire, after that first year, you get 2%, and you're going to get that same amount for the entire length of your retirement.
Okay.
Except somewhere down the road, after about 10 or 12 or 15 or 25 years, there's actually a catch-up because they realize that a lot of the people who retired earlier, the cost, that 2% didn't keep up with inflation, so they'll get another 8% or something, and it's given to them, instead of monthly, they get it like 2 times a year or something like that.
Oh.
So there is a little bit.
Unfortunately, the
Someone
PERS and
has to keep
STRS, we
track of
have
all
no
that?
control on.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one. The second thing is, the second one is health benefits. So we have a cap on our health benefits now in this
Correct.
district, right?
Yes.
So if we have a cap, that
This
means.
is the first year the cap was implemented.
Well, so correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is if you have a cap on the health benefits, as the medical providers increase their services, the responsible party has to pay additional money.
Correct.
But
unless it
we,
was-
as a district, have the same amount that we pay every year. That doesn't change now.
Correct.
So how do health benefits go up for us as a district?
Well, they go up for
You
the,
hire more.
they go up for the staff,
Right,
if the
but not
cap,
for
if it
us.
goes over the cap, correct.
Okay.
Well, the other thing is, as you get more employees,
You have to pay
the health
more.
There's more
benefits.
benefits.
Right, no, I got that, yeah.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have more employees unless you had money to pay them.
But each year when the healthcare costs raise throughout the state, the cost of the increase will filter down to you, right?
Yeah.
Because the district doesn't pay that higher fee.
Right.
Correct, unless they renegotiated the cap.
Exactly. That's the part.
I just went to a doctor today and they paid $30 on my $233 bill. So the $200 balance is mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
The one of the highest.
the only other question I have is, and probably for another discussion, is if we're down 1,000 kids in ADA, how much money is that?
Well, you saw the 1.5 million, it's a lot.
So is it $1.5 million
I would
every
have to
month?
calculate, I'd have to look at prior
know,
years
it's gonna
and
be close
calculate
to
that off the top of my head.
Right, so I'm saying that there was a time when this district had someone whose job was to, every day, figure out who's not in school and let's get them in class.
Yes.
And we don't have that person anymore, do we?
Are we sure? Because yesterday I had called you about that. I had somebody call me to say that they were told by the district if that kid missed another
Yeah,
day.
we have all that, that's in place.
Yeah, but that's a district person, right? That
Well,
just
the
happens to
district-
work in
right.
I'm talking about a dedicated person whose job 100% is to make sure that those 1,000 kids who are missing every day are accounted for. They're held responsible. They need it.
Well-
They have a spreadsheet that says, here's 1,000 kids and here's why these kids aren't in class.
Well, I know that she was threatening legal action yesterday.
They can threaten legal action they want, but there was a day when if you didn't send your kid to school, the parents got arrested,
Well, I
right?
mean, we still do SAR. The
Right.
kids are still SAR.
Yeah.
The parents are still SAR.
Yeah, that's still in place.
So are we as a district actually being more proactive as much as we should be to get 1,000 kids in class every day?
I mean, we're trying, you're trying to, but it's part of we can try. But if the parents, if it's a partnership, it's not just us. If parents are not working with us to get them to school, and
Right.
if it's taking us like the one she's saying, that you got someone calling your house saying you're gonna go to, you're gonna get
Take
arrested.
legal action, yeah.
Then you have a bunch of excuses. A lot of times the parents we talk to, they're well aware that the kids are missing school. That's how a lot of these folks. That's how I've met them through
And it was her 10th incident,
Right.
and her kindergartner had a headache, and so she kept her home on the 11th day, and then she got the phone call.
So we know, so you're telling me that we know if we have 1,000 kids that are not in school, we know where those 1,000 kids are? Every day, we know where they are.
It's a process, yes.
Okay.
But the other thing is that when that person was working for us and doing that job, we had the same numbers.
And the thing is rather
It didn't
it's
change.
excused or not excused, you still don't get funded for it.
Exactly, that's the problem.
Unless they're in
Right,
that chair.
that's the problem, yeah.
But they can be there for 5 minutes and we get
Yes.
80.
For that day.
Still not
If
that
they're
way.
counted with
Yes.
attendance, yes, we get. But rather they're at a funeral, a medical appointment, or just their parents are in San Jose and they just didn't come to school, we don't get funded.
Yeah.
Rather it's
Right.
excused or not, they have to be there, but like you said, then, they're there 5 minutes during attendance, we get it.
So there's-
Except the secondaries, except the secondary level.
Yeah.
Secondaries by period.
Period.
By period.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
but it's BIS.
And we're funded by ADA,
Yes.
not enrollment.
Right.
We're only funded on ADA at P2. We're not funded off P1 or annual, we're funded off P2. As of April 15th, what our numbers are as of April 15th.
So P1 is estimated, P2
It's
is
an
the actual.
estimate.
Thank you.
Expel kids at county schools or piano.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
And then we'll do a revise at the end of the year to see if there's any changes, if something's been cleared up.
I mean, that's a hard one because I know that for a while there was really a push. We had all these incentives to get kids to school and I thought it was very successful where I was working to get kids to school. But now now we're telling people, stay home if you're sick. I mean, I know I used to have kids come to school because they wanted to get that 100% attendance
Yeah.
and they were, maybe shouldn't have come to school, right? So there's a catch-22 with that whole attendance thing because you don't want them to come to school sick, but you want them to come to school to get ADA,
Yeah.
I mean, we have parents, it's your birthday, you can stay home today.
Yeah.
Well,
It's,
well, I
I
had
can't
one
tell you
where
how many times I go to
he
March
said he didn't
and
want to go to
there's
school
tons of
today,
kids
so
and they're
yeah.
running around and you're like, why aren't they in school?
Right.
because they're all at Lion King.
And maybe the missing link is if you get, I know one school, when we did a push to get a lot of the free lunch farms back, we used the approach of, the more of these farms we get back, in one school we really had issues getting them back.
Right.
And what we basically did, we targeted the message to the parents, hey, if you like all the stuff that your school is that's going on at the school, this is where the money is coming from to do stuff for your kids, so could you, we tried that angle. And I think that.
Did it work?
It worked, yeah, because the numbers that percentage went up a lot.
I'm thinking we're gonna have to use the incentive angle.
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
Because because it has to be to where people have to see, maybe this budget situation that we're about to, but this chapter we're about to enter, with this new, this shortfall, statewide. Maybe that might be the wake-up call to kind of get folks, hey, this is how if you want to reduce this, if you want to cushion the impact, make the impact as worse, this is something you could do.
Right.
I mean, there are things as a district we're going to have to do to address the issue, but there are things that parents can do too, as far as make sure they, as far as
Get your kids to school every day. So I don't even know if they realize that's how we're funded.
Oh, good.
Probably
don't like that.
Some do, the ones that didn't do it, the ones that kind of know what to do, but the general person,
The
it
call
doesn't
about
impact.
yesterday was, how much ADA did they get for my kid? And I said, you know what?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Go to
So
State's
it's-
website.
because some people, that's a good point, because some do.
That's
Because you look at when, that is a very good point, because we go back when all the COVID stuff was going on. And we got to the point to where, you had two camps, you had some that wanted us to wanted us to be at school, but you had another group that wanted everybody to be at home initially. And when we made the choice, when the decision was made for us to come back, we're gonna go back to school in person, and one of the crowd that didn't agree, it was, if you go back and read some of the comments, it was pretty, and you even see it, like in some, like when they have like issues, I'm sure read some of the comments, when people are upset about different things, that's a reference point. But they just want your kids to come to school so they can get the money and stuff. So I think there's a good bit of that no. I just think we need to kind of connect it for a positive instead of just for,
It used to have end of the year celebrations if you had no absences.
Right.
Yeah, stuff like that, right?
These days,
Positive.
you tell a parent that because my kid missed one day and they can't celebrate,
Yeah.
you have a problem.
Or little, when you're smaller, I remember getting pencils,
Mhm.
like,
They still do that.
They still do that.
Yeah. They still do incentives every quarter,
Yeah.
and pass out
Yes, and awards and
perfect
things.
attendance and whatnot.
So I think what's gonna happen, we'll probably be having I'm sure we'll be having more conversations after, the finance committee, the board in general, once, we get a handle after we go to this meeting on the 17th. I think that we probably have to have some more deliberate conversations to see how does this impact us? Because it is gonna impact us a great deal. Then you'll have a better picture of what's Governor Newsom's, what's his plan as far as, he's been very ambitious about these different pots of money, to try to contain things for kid support. But now given a $68 billion shortfall, what's the plan to get out of the hole? So we'll find that out on the 17th.
Good deal. Any other comments or concerns or questions on the budget presentation?
Just I'm back on the Prop 28 thing. What's the sustainability of that? What I mean is, 80% of it is supposed to be going to staffing, and then how long is this we're supposed to get the funds? How many years? Because
so far what I heard is continuous.
it's continuous? Okay, because it's like, because 80% of staffing, we're gonna have to hire people, are we gonna be able to sustain those people as well? So I'm just curious about that.
Well, I tell you, I have friends up and down, being a music teacher, I have friends up and down the state. They have already hired their staff because they know there's gonna be a shortage. We can't find anybody. I mean, we had two music staff openings last year. And we couldn't fill them. I think we finally filled one.
Well,
I don't wanna give the money back.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not just music, it's all VAPA.
Arts.
It's all,
It's arts and music.
so it's arts,
VAPA,
music,
yes.
dance, drama,
Right.
VAPA.
so, all the VAPA programs, yeah. All right,
Acronym, sorry,
Other
visual
questions?
performing arts.
pardon me?
Yeah.
We used an acronym, visual
VAPA,
performing
performing
arts.
arts, VAPA, yeah.
Want to make sure.
All those VAPA people know what it means.
Yes, but not everybody
Not
else is
everybody.
listening, so.
Any other questions, comments, concerns, or are you ready to make a motion?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Does anybody always want hard copies of the book? That way we know how many to print? Would you guys rather have hard
This,
copies?
yes.
I do.
It's just easier to
Look at.
through it,
Yeah.
yes.
I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to run them and then you guys not want them. I'll make sure you guys get hard copies.
Thank you.
Jasmine, you want a hard copy?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Gene?
Yes.
Oh, it looks like,
Okay.
looks like
I'll just
everybody
say
wants
yes
hard
for
copies. All right.
I know
I'm
it's a
assuming
big
you
book.
stop saying yes.
Yeah.
I try to do it back to back so it's not
No,
that
it
big.
Yeah, no,
And I like that you put the little, when I looked at it, I went, oh, look at her presentations in the
I
back.
try to.
Yeah.
Put everything in there.
yeah, no, I always have a ton of these at home already, so.
Yeah.
I keep them all.
Thank you for getting one.
Lori needed one yesterday, but she wasn't available, so I just went and I just ran her this one.
Okay,
Yeah,
you'll-
I told her she didn't get the pretty bound copy that
You'll
did.
get hard. Do you
Yeah,
want
it's
hard
just
copies
very-
of this one or just the next one?
Just the next one, because I already put it, I already have it put in
I'll
the
make sure
binder.
that you all have hard
Yeah,
copies.
it's just very difficult. I mean, I was trying to use it on my laptop and my iPad, and it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Perfect.
it's
I will
just
put you guys
hard
hard
as well.
Which is different than previous boards who didn't want a hard copy. They said, it's too many pieces of paper.
I like to write notes. I need to have like. have
Exactly, and
something
that's
to-
exactly what I've done, is
Yeah, I've always gotten a hard copy, so I know how you feel. Sorry, anybody want to make a motion, or we want to have anything else to discuss today?
So you're looking for a motion
Motion to approve the
first?
first interim, yes.
Yes, I move that we approve first interim budget report.
Got a motion by member Gattuso, seconded by member D, to approve the first interim budget report. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it is carried. All right, 100% except one absent, and it is 6:44, and we are adjourned. Thank you, 5:44. 5:44. 5:44.